Hello, I'm Jay, owner of Volunteer Audio in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. It's January 24th, 2024, the big day that Harley's going to tell you about all their new models they're releasing for the 24 model year. Now, I'm pretty excited about that new CVO ST Road Glide. It's pretty awesome, but I'm even more excited to tell you about the latest from Soundstream Reserve, the new radio V2. I'm going to go over all the features in this radio and compare it to the existing HDHU14SI and the GTS radio. So keep watching, and I'm going to tell you why you need this radio for your bike. All right, so I'm excited because I hate keeping secrets, and I've been told all these amazing features one at a time from the guys at Soundstream, and today's the day I get to share them with you. So let's talk about this new radio. The HDHU14SI is, in my opinion, the best radio on the market for your Harley up to now. And I'm going to try to talk about the new V2 and give you a comparison in features compared to this radio. Because in almost every way, I think this radio was better than our GTS radio. With the exception of one thing, I always have to ask you, do you use wireless headsets? Well, the new V2 has that built into it, and I'll go in detail. So that's the only thing I felt like the GTS had over this, and that was only if you had purchased the WIM from Harley, and even then you were required to use a special Cena headset to get stereo sound. So I'm going to go over the differences between the SI and the V2 in more detail, and the GTS, pretty well understand everything about it, is better on the V2, including the headsets. So let's start with probably the biggest difference that you're going to visually see right away when you look at the two radios. First off, the factory screen on the GTS or the SI is roughly 7 inches. It's got buttons on each side. This new V2 radio has an 8.3-inch QLED screen. It's much higher resolution. It's very, very vibrant. And on top of that, it has a 1000 nit brightness rating. That's brighter than the SI, it's brighter than the GTS. It's the brightest radio you're going to be able to put in your Harley. So even you guys with the Road Glide with the sun over your shoulders, this is going to help you see it when that sun's glaring back in your eyes. I don't know if we can do anything about that crazy angle, but the brightness should help substantially to allow you to see it better over any of the other radios. All right, so what's also cool is with this edge-to-edge display, we're going to have the same gauge options we had in the SI, but the layout's a little different. So we're going to get full motorcycle information retained. That's everything. So that's going to be things like EITMS status, oil pressure, voltage. We're going to have a really cool display. I like the fact they moved the button bar that you would have had on the older bikes is really at the top of the screen. So now you can see things like your turn signals, your brake lights, neutral indicator, all that's at the top of the motorcycle info screen. But on top of that, our gauges are much bigger. We have the ability to do about 50 different gauges, and you can preset 10 of them on your gauge display screen. Now, let's talk about wireless capability. This radio is the future. It has everything we've ever wanted wireless. So we have certified wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto built into the radio. What this means is you're getting the best connectivity without ever having to plug your phone in. We also have full wireless connectivity to headsets. So you guys with your Cardos and your Cenas, all of your headsets are going to be able to Bluetooth to this radio. And I love in the software, they've given us a couple really cool features. We can separate what the rider and the passenger are going to hear through those headsets. So from the new V2 radio, you're going to be able to send it things like your calls or your music or your nav prompts, and you're going to get to select what goes to who. Now, if you're the rider and not the passenger, you're going to be able to get a call. The passenger will not be linked up to get the call, so you'll have to, if your wife's going to be on the back, she's taking the call, you may want to set her up as a driver instead of the passenger so that she can take those calls while you focus on driving. But it's really cool because you get to select what you hear and what you don't hear. Now here's something else. The SI never did any headset capability. That was something a lot of you asked about. You wanted those nav prompts, you wanted the ability to send music to a headset. But on top of the ability to do that with V2, they made it where any Bluetooth in-ear can also be connected. If you've got Apple AirPods, or maybe you got a JBL in-ear, or whatever brand in-ear Bluetooth device you have, you can Bluetooth to the radio, and you can get all those same features. So you're going to be able to get your phone calls, your nav prompts, your music sent to your headset without having to buy that expensive Cena or Cardo headset. Now, you won't be able to communicate to other people with their headsets if you're just doing a Bluetooth in-ear, But the Cardo and the Sena, you'll still be on your mesh network and communicating with all your friends and other riders as you go about your trip. All of this wireless connectivity is absolutely amazing because on top of that, you no longer need a WIM from Harley. So if you didn't have wireless connectivity factory, you're going to have it now without having to go back and flash anything or buy anything extra. It's all built into the radio. Now the next thing a lot of you asked for was built-in navigation. Now I love Apple Maps, Google Maps. I don't think you can beat the maps that are in your phone. And being able to connect your smartphone wirelessly means that most people are going to choose to use those maps. But SoundStream added in our iGo Primo navigation. So you're going to have built-in nav with the latest version of iGo Primo. They're one of the best companies for your built-in navigation software. That's going to be in the radio without your phone having to be connected. So you guys that haven't made it to the future yet and haven't got a smartphone, you've got built-in nav with or without your phone. Now a lot of people were kind of worried, and the reason they asked so much for built-in nav, they thought if they ran out of cell service that their Apple Maps or Google Maps would stop working. The fact is all our new smartphones, whether that be Apple or Android, have embedded GPS sensors in them. So because of that, if you start your maps in service, they're going to continue even if you leave cell range. Now, with that being said, there's also a GPS antenna with this radio for that built-in nav. So it's going to come with an antenna, but on top of that, you can just plug in the factory antenna. So if you had a GTS radio or GT radio with nav, simply plug in your factory antenna. It uses that same factory connection to make it even easier and more plug and play. All right, so now let's talk about other inputs. So a lot of you guys asked for 2 USB inputs. Why would you want that? Because maybe you want to charge your phone and you want to play music off of a USB flash drive. Well, we are going to have a dedicated USB-C input that charges your phone. So that's the fastest charging, and it is the future. It's what everything is going to. But we also still have a USB-A input for you guys with your flash drive with all your music on it. So now we've answered it. You can have your wireless CarPlay or Android Auto, you can charge your phone, and you can listen to that music on your USB with no additional parts needed to be purchased. All right, let's talk about sound and EQ, because this radio is going to blow you away. So our previous SoundStream radio, like the SI, has the 13-band EQ, which has been awesome. This is the best sounding radio we've had available. This radio takes it to a whole nother level. V2 is going to have a 15-band EQ instead of a 13-band. Has much better preset EQs in it. I like them a lot better, as well as a new function called 3D sound. I have no idea how it works, but it makes it sound like you've got surround sound. So not only do you have the big 8.3-inch screen like you have in your home theater, but we have 3D sound now also built into the EQ of the radio. Now let's talk about power. So the factory radio is 25 watts or less, and I think that's peak wattage from Harley. And a lot of these other radios were actually done at a peak wattage also. So our SI radio was rated at 300 peak watts. Now this new radio is 50 watts RMS per channel at 2 ohm or 100 watts peak. This puts the power in the new V2 actually a little above what we had in the Sony 7000 radios. Not only do you have that extra power, but you get all the added features like the IPX5 water rating. So we don't have to worry about washing the bike or getting caught in the rain. It's not going to have any issues with that. So we have, not only is it 50 watts per channel, but instead of using the standard MOSFET chip that's in every other radio, it's got a new Class AB amplifier to be the cleanest sound output. This radio was built with sound in mind. It's going to be so clean and so clear. The EQs are going to give you the adjustment you want, and with 50 watts of RMS power, you guys that were kind of on the fence, should I get an amp or not? This is going to be a lot louder than your stock radio. Now keep in mind, Volunteer Audio is still going to make full plug-and-play packages with amps with 100 watts RMS or more ready to go that you can also add when you purchase your new V2 radio. All right, so the new V2 is also Maestro compatible. So iDataLink makes these parts called Maestro modules, the MRR and the MRR2. Both of these are going to communicate with your bike, giving you amazing thumb controls that you can fully control and change how they work. On top of that, with the new V2 radio, you can use the joystick on your right controls to move through every screen of the radio. That's from the settings menus to the home menu. Select anything you want on screen without ever having to reach up and touch it. This also works on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to go through your maps, to go through your music, so you can go from your playlist to your artist and change sources within your phone apps as well. So that's pretty amazing. With the Maestro, you also have that full connectivity to pull the gauges and all that vehicle information. So the reason we can retain the EITMS status, the voltage, the oil pressure, and so on that was originally displayed on your radio is the Maestro module. But on top of that, we get those 50 different gauge options. All of that is done from that iDataLink Maestro. Now when the SI came out, it also uses this. We went through a lot of software updates because Maestro wasn't quite ready for the amount of people that put this in their Harley. Now, we spent all of last year going through and doing all those updates, so we see this going to be a seamless process that we're going to flash your MRR or MRR2 here at Volunteer Audio, send it to you ready to go, and there's going to be no need for you to do any future updates to that iData Link box. Back to wireless connectivity. So one other amazing thing that we're able to do, see, to do wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, as well as wireless headsets, this thing has a whole lot of Bluetooth chips and Wi-Fi chips inside to do that communication. And they added one more for us for this awesome thing called Rally Mode. So now you can actually set up your bike, name it inside the radio, and connect it to all your other friends' bikes that also have the V2 radio. You may ask, why would I want to do that? Well, we're going to do that so that you can actually listen to the same music at the same time. Up to 300 of your friends, up to 330 meters away. That's 1,000 feet that you can connect to your friends. And what it's going to do is somebody's radio is going to be designated as the DJ. The rest of you are going to be listeners. And so now you can roll in with your crew, listening to the same song as you show up for bike night or whatever rally you're attending. All right, so on top of all of that, the new V2 radio has an 8-layer PCB or circuit board. The SI had a 4-layer board, and it sounded great, and the latest versions have done a really great job of hooking to any amp without really any noise issues. But this new one has an 8-layer to give us even better sound and to fit more things on the board. That separates all of our circuits out a little further from each other to give us even cleaner sound. So between the new upgraded EQ, the Class AB amplifier built in, and now this new 8-layer board, this is going to be the best sounding radio that you've ever put in your bike. So let's go over and let's do a quick recap. We got a much larger screen than the SI. We went from 7-inch to 8.3-inch. We went from a 13-band EQ to a 15-band. The SI radio had Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability, but you had to plug into the USB. Now we're going to be able to do all of that wireless with the new V2 radio. On top of that, we could not do headset capability with the SI. Now you can do headset with a Cardo or a Sena, communicating to your group, but also hearing everything from your radio. And if you don't have one of those, and you just want to hook up your earbuds to it, you can do your wireless in-ears from any of the major companies through Bluetooth and get that same information. The better, higher output amplifier inside, it's going to make it where a lot of people really don't have to upgrade to a bigger amp, but we know if you're crazy enough to buy a V2 and you're this nuts about your audio system, you're probably going to want one of those big amps also. So Volunteer Audio is going to have full plug-and-play systems with those upgraded speakers and upgraded amplifiers to be completely plug-and-play and set to your V2 radio. All of this is happening, and we're doing a pre-order on the radio. Now, we've ordered a tremendous amount of these radios, but I know they're not going to last. So as long as you see it's available for pre-order on volunteeraudio.com, there's still availability for you to get one. And by buying one of the pre-ordered radios, you're guaranteed to be in that first shipment, which should come in roughly the very end of March, but we're saying the first week of April. So the first week of April, we'll ship you your radio. Everybody else in the world is going to wait another 30 to 60 days for that next batch. So you're going to have the latest radio when you ride into whatever rally, vacation, or whatever you're wanting to do in bike season, you're going to have the radio before anybody else. All right, speaking of those plug-and-play packages, if you already have one of those you bought from Volunteer Audio, first I want to say thank you for doing so. As you know, you get lifetime tech support from us when you buy any of those kits. What does that mean? If you decide to upgrade from your factory radio, or maybe even from a 14 Plus or 14 SI into the new V2, reach out back to us, use that tech support. We'll get you the settings for your amplifier so it'll all be plug-and-play and make it a very easy swap over when you decide to upgrade to the latest and the greatest from SoundStream. All right, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to Volunteer Audio on YouTube. That's where you're going to get the latest information about this radio. And within the next week, we expect to have one here on hand. We're going to have it in a bike. We'll be making more videos. We'll show you all of these screens and how it all operates. We also have a big show we're going to in Las Vegas. It's called the Knowledge Fest event. We'll have this radio on a bike there. We'll do some video in there. And I got a couple other awesome new parts I want to show you while we're at the event. Like this video, it's going to move it up in search standings on YouTube. That helps us. Thank you so much for doing so. And definitely comment below. Tell me what you like about this radio, what you wish it had, what you love about what it does have, or any questions you have for us. Comment. I'll be quick to answer. I'd love to let you know why this radio is the best radio ever made for your new Harley Davidson. All right, so as always, we thank you so much for watching us, and we hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.